I've been rereading a book by Elisabeth Elliot, one of my favorite authors. In it, she talks about life's countless little deaths. If you're a Christian, then there will be many moments when you'll have to choose between what you want and what God asks of you. It's what's called a death to self. You lay your desires down because you trust that God's will is far better than your own. As Elisabeth Elliot says, though, there is a big however. We are not meant to die to be dead. If you say the eternal yes to God, you are given eternal life. He, through the redeeming death of his only Son, exchanges your inherent evil for new life. All you have to do for that new life is to admit you've broken God's laws, believe that Jesus was punished and died in your place, and then came back 3 days later in order to prove that death no longer has any sting. Ask me if you have any questions about that. I'm always excited to talk about it, but what I've been thinking of lately are smaller deaths. The deaths of dreams and hopes and wishes. I believe that God asks so much of his children because he has good things in store in the future, whether it be a future here or a future in eternity. But there's always hope now, too. I experienced a death to a dream earlier this year. Honestly, it was one of the most painful things I've ever gone through. I gave that dream completely to God, and I'm kind of ashamed to admit that I really grieved over it. It strained my relationship with God and it muted my appreciation for life. But through it, even though my emotions were all over the place, I was able to, and not through any virtue of my own, but something that God blessed me with, I was able to have the knowledge through that he was still present. And he was, and he is. Elisabeth Elliot called it a sacrifice. When she experienced a death to one of her dreams, she put it on the altar and she said, "I'm burning it up. This is for you, but what is to become of the ashes?" And I've asked myself that same question. But, though, the big however, we're not meant to die to be dead. I have one quote to leave with you. Think of the self that God has given as an acorn. It is a marvelous little thing, a perfect shape, perfectly designed for its purpose, perfectly functional. Think of the grand glory of an oak tree. God's intention when he made the acorn was the oak tree. His intention for us is the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. Many deaths must go into our reaching that measure, many letting goes. When you look at the oak tree, you don't feel the loss of the acorn as a very great loss. The more you perceive God's purpose in your life, the less terrible the losses will seem. Thank you for being so lovely. I'll talk to you soon. Don't look now, 10-year-old Melinda, but future you is actually wearing a dress for no reason at all. Oh, don't scoff. Future you is actually pretty happy.